Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Noreen, who signed up for the Freedom from Cravings Formula program in January of 2024. And she gave me permission to publish parts of our recent conversation about some of the benefits that she's already experiencing just 2 or 3 weeks into the program. Benefits for her sleep, her headaches, how she sees eating healthy, even her own sense of self, including realizing that she needs to look after herself first so that she can be able to look after her grandson, her mom, and everyone else around her. We'll get to our chat in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources about how to get rid of cravings, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. And come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at MyLifeAfterSugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_lifeaftersugar. Okay, so here's my chat with Freedom from Cravings Formula program participant, Noreen. How are you doing?
First of all, I had a rant, and then you just asked one question, and that's what I needed. I just, needed to stop and answer that question. And I think that a lot of my craziness was over just feeling like something's wrong and not really pondering enough and saying, oh yeah, that's right. This did start with my diverticulitis. And now I feel like, oh my goodness, I might actually be able to do something to take care of diverticulitis in the long run. So yeah, I go 6 months and I don't have a problem. And then all of a sudden it's either celebration or it's boredom. Probably those two are the biggest. And then I just decide, well, today's just one day. And I just think that that's the door back in.
Yeah.
I really do think I'm an abstainer when it comes to the sweet stuff, but I have none at all. And part of it is because I've been sick, and so I was very lucky to not be eating things for such a long time and I feel so desperate that this was the perfect time for saying, if you don't change, nothing will change. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you sort of keep going back to what you were doing before that wasn't working, then yeah, it's never going to work. Yeah. And I mean, yes, for some of us, zero, as I often say, zero is freedom.
Right. And I still say for some of the things it may not, but the things I know. And so I'm, and now all of a sudden I've got this whole thing with the diverticulitis. Oh, wow. Okay. Maybe I need to really back off and do things different because I've been crazed. I mean, I've been crazed for 2 years eating healthy, and my diverticulitis started when I started eating really healthy. I'm like, oh.
Well, I want to unpack the whole concept of eating healthy because, I sort of get a bit uppity about that because what eating healthy is for me is not what eating healthy is someone else,
Right.
right?
Yeah. It was all what I've been told. And so I was like, living on that like it was the God's truth.
Yeah, yeah. And despite proof to the contrary from your own body,
I did it anyhow.
did it anyway. And no, like, I'm not judging you or, trying to make you feel bad. I'm
I
just
didn't
saying
know
we all
I
do
didn't
that.
know better.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And sort of my point here in the program and in the After Sugar Club is to say one of the things that we as consumers and patients kind of owe it to ourselves is to advocate for ourselves and to
Yeah.
educate ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And until we
Yep.
do that, we're in the hands of, all these messages that may not work for
Yeah.
us.
Well, I'm telling you, I've got some sort of an authoritarian over me. Even intermittent fasting. I mean, I finally got to the point where I don't really care about the window.
Mm-hmm.
My window some days is 3 hours and some days it's 6 hours, and I just don't care. I
Yeah.
can't do this thing where I'm not eating in order to get 2 hours because I got nothing to eat because I didn't prep for it. I mean, it's been nuts. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm my own commandant or something. It just.
Well, it's often when we look for solutions outside of us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we just don't know what else to do.
Right. Right.
So, and yeah, so which is why I encourage you to stop,
Yeah.
ponder, and, and work from the inside first,
Right.
which is
Right.
uncomfortable because most of us have never done it.
Well, I've done it in some ways, but certainly never around food.
Mm.
And which means that probably that's affected all the other things that I've worked on. But yeah, I'm even settled down. I've been so, of course, all the education, everything. I've been so scared that my appetite isn't coming back. I'm going to slow my metabolism down. And then I'm like, you know what? If I slow my metabolism down, someday I'm going to get super hungry. And
Mhm.
then maybe that's the time when I can do the alternate day. But I'm like, sugar plus even a 3 to 5 hour window is already, you know, that's already helping me. Just let it help me.
Mm.
So,
That whole feeling of hunger, um, I think you're going to get into the whole subject of hunger in the program, but I haven't actually felt really hungry for over 8 years.
yeah,
And I think we're conditioned to think that you've got to be like feeling starving
right,
for it, right? For it to work.
right,
Whereas I have appetite. I'm looking forward to eating,
right,
enjoy my food when I do sit down to eat. But sort of obsessively thinking about food and like being on your knees and can't wait another 5 minutes,
right,
none of that.
right. I really haven't had that either. Probably since I started intermittent fasting, I haven't had it.
Yeah,
Um,
because
I
that's insulin makes you feel like this. I got to eat
yeah,
now. When your insulin is steady, you don't get that feeling.
yeah. Even when I had my 5 hour window and 2 hours into my like I'd eat really healthy, and then 2 hours later, but I might have bread, and then 2 hours later, I'm hankering for something else, and I figure, well, it's my window, I can eat it, but it's not because I'm hungry. It
Hmm.
wasn't. It was just because I wanted it, you
Hmm.
know, and so I'm actually really relieved to all of a sudden, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. Someday I'm going to back off completely of, especially, I stopped doing kefir. I stopped doing kombucha. I stopped doing sauerkraut. I just stopped doing all that stuff. Now I'm just using it. And I stopped doing milk. Cause I read this thing all on, diverticulitis, and it talked about doing low FODMAP.
Hmm.
So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. It may even been that's what I did before I got healthy eating, and so I'm gonna play with it and then reintroduce things slowly because I don't have to have a lot of that stuff. I would like to have some of it, but I can wait till I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it feels a lot less desperate.
Yeah. Good. I'm happy, and what's making it feel less desperate for you?
Well, I think number one, I didn't know. Well, number one, it was 6 weeks. I hadn't eaten. I've lost weight. I'm not eating enough to get it back. I'm not hungry. I felt like, I eat what I'm supposed to, and then I just feel like my stomach isn't working. Like I don't have gas, but I got bloating, and I don't really have constipation, but it's just like my stomach stopped working. And it would, like, I'd enjoy my lunch, really enjoy it finally after so many weeks. And
Yeah.
then dinner would come, and it's like I can't even fathom the idea of having dinner.
Okay.
And I would have it, but then and then I was thinking something about dinner, like what the hell with dinner? I'm like, this is like doesn't even have a lot of, like this isn't even the healthy that I'm doing. Like at lunch, I'm like eating a half an apple, and I'm eating the sauerkraut, and I'm eating carrots, and I'm eating, nuts, and I'm eating grapes, and I just got this variety here. And then and so it's like, and that's comfortable. But then by the time dinner comes, and then I thought, well, what happens if by the dinner time it's the lunch that's doing that to me, you know?
Mm. Hmm.
So I just stopped, and I'm like, giving myself a week, like you said, just stop doing it. Don't expect it to be the next day. And I mean, I'm still not hungry, but I just actually had some lunch with my wife, and I had an egg omelet with some um, some cheddar cheese, and then I actually took my drink with me because according to this thing, chia and flax are still okay on the FODMAP thing, because I sort of looked it all up, and I'm having not coconut, almond milk. So I
Okay.
just made almond milk with the chia and the whatever, and I put some strawberries and just whatever. My so-called smoothie is simplifying itself. It's like I just put a little one fruit. I used to put like four different kinds so that I would be getting all sorts of different kinds. And I just put one, and I put my chia and my flax in there, and I just stir it up, and all it is the milk in that. Well, not milk, but almond milk.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to drink, and I feel full. I don't feel hungry, but I don't feel overfull. And last night when I went to dinner, I felt like I could eat dinner. I didn't feel greatly hungry, but I also just took what I thought was appropriate for my amount of hunger.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
look,
I
I
didn't feel,
commend you on doing experiments to see
yeah,
how things affect you, and
yeah,
to start with yourself rather than, trying to reach this sort of, I can't
yeah,
say that it's, like a random goal, because the 30 veggies and fruit a day thing is like based on, I guess, their scientific research. They
right,
didn't just pull it out of a hat. On the
right,
other hand, I know that, historically, all this 5 a day, 30 a week, or whatever it is,
right.
it's really partly to recommend
Overcome.
people, yeah,
Yeah,
well, just to encourage people to eat actual real foods rather than junk
right.
food. And
Yeah.
so, but then people get
Well, yeah.
get caught up in this 30 number.
Well, well, the thing too was that it was like, so I knew that I wrecked my microbiome with the antibiotics.
Mm.
And so I was desperate to get it back on board. And so I thought the way to do that is to do the 30 fruits and vegetables. And I'm like, and then I'm like, wait a minute, you're probably just steamrolling over the fact that diverticulitis isn't just something that gets fixed with antibiotics. You have to calm yourself down, and you have to be respectful, and I just wasn't doing that at all. And so I feel a lot better. I feel less anxious about it all. I was just beside myself,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So
yeah, and well done, because again, the importance of all the different elements, including the stress, rather than just changing what you
right,
eat. Yeah. And for
yeah,
some people, including myself, just cutting sugar is already a wonderful thing to do for your microbiome.
right,
And for some
and
people like me, I can't have all those vegetables. They're actually
yeah,
unhealthy for me.
yeah. And it's funny because I don't like fruits.
Yeah.
So, but I'm figuring that, oh, and I don't. So I respect it. I try to eat fruits, but I don't eat much of them. And I just figure, well, that's okay. It doesn't matter. Um, and I've always loved my veggies more, but that's okay. I'm gonna, I'll get there. And when I get there, then I'm going to experiment adding things back in, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, the one thing I know is that if I eat sugar or I do something really crappy to myself, I'm not going to get that deep sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that is so motivating to me. So this morning I went on, so I ate just a couple of them. I just said, okay, I'm just going to eat a small amount. And she had made green beans, and I had my little almond milk. And so I felt like, okay. Oh, and then she had a little bit of chicken there. So I had the chicken. That was fine. And so I got up this morning and I had 4.5 hours. So I said, okay, small amount,
Yeah.
maybe
You can
every
have.
now and again, so I'm just gonna I write it down. These are things that, I don't even want to forget, and I'm afraid I will forget them. But, a small amount of something every now and again, and then just keep watching. And I believe my body will also know when I'm better. I
Yeah.
believe my brain will be more, because I've not done sugar before, and I know even without thinking about the pasta and all that kind of stuff, I know that even just with that, my energy level, I don't have headaches now. I was having so many headaches every single day. I was pulling on my hair to try to relieve myself from it. And I'm going to bed at night. I always wake up in the middle of the night, no headache. I get up in the morning, I'm no headache. I'm like, so I know that's also the sugar.
Yeah.
And so these are the wonderful things that I'm going to keep writing down, so that as I try to learn more things, either back off of things or add things back in, I'm going to pay attention to headaches. I'm going to pay attention to, mind fog.
I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast, and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews, and when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it, so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar.
That's why at the end I put, I will not change this for 2 weeks, because I know that's me.
Yeah.
And I may not change it for a month. I may decide that, what, this is better to do for a month, because every month, if I add a little bit more in a year from now, I will be better off than adding tons in. And then all of a sudden it's too much for me and I stop doing it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. And that's a bit like James Clear says in his book,
Yes.
Atomic Habits, right?
Yes.
You make
Yes.
small changes so that A, they're doable, B,
Right.
they're sustainable. And
Right.
then that means that they build on each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you look back, after a month, after a year, you've made a whole lot of changes, but it hasn't been difficult.
Right. And I'm actually, I had him on audio when that assignment came up, so what I did is I searched it, I found it, and I played it. But now it turns out I'm playing it every night. Well, that's part of my ritual for going to bed. I put it on 45 and I'm listening to it. And then the next morning I say, wow, I was listening to something that was really good. I'm going to go back to that chapter and I'm going to listen to it again. And I'm doing it during my exercise, even though I thought I wouldn't be able to do something fun.
Yeah.
And then I think that's where my mindset comes. I have to take care of myself before I take care of anybody else, because then it'll go away.
Right.
And I don't think that's right anymore.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I did already change it. I literally did my assignment yesterday and I've already changed it all up.
Yeah.
But I like it better. I listened to the James Clear while I decided I don't have to count how many times I do a curl. I just count it until my arms feel like they're ready to stop.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just change it all up. I don't even count. I'm listening to him. I'm doing it. I'm doing 5 pound weights. I'm not going to hurt myself.
Right.
And so I did them all. And I actually didn't do them on the vibration plate. I decided that's too much. I'm going to do the vibration plate and then I'll do the, so, and it all, I did the stretches, then I did the vibration and then I did them. And I had plenty of time because I wasn't needing to do it before I started to get my grandson ready. And I gave myself a little star and I felt great afterwards. And I said, that was nice. I'm going to do that again, you
Smashing.
know? So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a testament, to how to your ability to be flexible. And I don't mean
yeah,
physically flexible like in
right.
yoga,
I know.
but I mean
Right.
to be able to switch things around so that they work for you and so that you actually do them, you
Yeah.
know. And yeah,
Yep.
and we change over the years. What
Yeah.
worked for us
Yeah.
before may not
Yep.
now. And it's the same for your food as well, right?
Uh, well, yeah. I mean, I'm just like, this is, first of all, it's crazy. I don't even know who I am. But second of all, I have everything I need to find out who I am. And
Mm.
I don't need, I think I was panicking saying, how am I going to find this out? How am I going to find this so much? Like, I'm going to find it out. I've already done this wonderful thing, where I literally, I mean, that one night I had a couple of pieces of candy. And then when I saw what it did to me, that was actually a wonderful learning experience because it is like, I look at that thing every morning and marvel at how much deep sleep I get.
At
Because
your watch that tracks it, right?
yeah, my watch tracks it. And I'm like, this is so motivational because I have worked for, I can't tell you how many years. And as long as I've had the watch and seen that I can't get any deep sleep and nobody can, you go on the internet and it doesn't say, well, what can you do to make yourself deep sleep? And I have a really nice nighttime routine. And I'm sleeping better than I used to sleep and things are going okay, but that thing did not budge. And all of a sudden, I stopped eating this candy and this sweets and the things that are chewy and whatever. My addictive foods is what I like to say. And that changed dramatically. And all I had was a couple of pieces of candy that night. And it just went right back to 35 minutes. And I'm like, oh, so that was like, I mean, yeah, it seemed like it was probably sugar. But even to find out that even that much sugar is going to affect my sleep, it's like, I don't want it. I just
Yeah.
don't want it. I feel like this sleep is precious.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
just only getting 35 minutes of real deep sleep a night, that is going to affect your whole outlook on life, your mood, your anxiety
absolutely.
level. You can't be calm when you're
Yeah.
not sleeping.
Yeah, it's the first thing I look at in the morning.
Yeah.
So I just feel like this is such a wonderful thing because I've been sick. It's not like I have this immediate feedback of all the things that not eating this stuff does for me. But I have this.
Mm,
And this is like, wow, I've been looking for this answer for 2 years now. Like
wow.
what is the matter with me that no matter what I do, that doesn't change at all. You would think sometimes I get 4 or 5 hours sleep. And the next day you think, okay, well, I'm going to get better sleep and it's going to have more deep. The sleep is better, but the deep didn't change at all.
Until you
So,
cut the sugar.
till I cut the sugar, and I'm almost thinking, I don't know. I had the lasagna one night and it went back down to 35. So I have in my mind that could be the fact that it was lasagna noodles, or it could be fat because lasagna is high fat. There was no meat in it, but it was ricotta and mozzarella and parmesan and eggs and you name it. And so I said, okay, in my mind, I have those two things. There's been many times in my life, but in the last 5 or 10 years, that I wake up in the middle of the night with acute anxiety,
Hmm.
and I have not been waking up with anxiety in the middle of the night, and I'm not having a hard time getting back to sleep.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, you
so
learn, we come back to what we were saying at the beginning about eating healthy.
right,
And if that's how it affects you, it may not be healthy for you. And sometimes we don't actually ever really know. It's just that check in with your own body and you realize,
Right,
look, when I eat this, this is how I feel, whether it's positive or negative. And then you decide, on that basis, whether or not you want to continue eating that thing and feeling
right,
that way.
right, right.
Yeah, and
Mm,
as we were saying before, it's like it can be a source of anxiety to wonder, who do I listen to? All these
right,
contradictory messages, and who do
right,
I listen to? And my answer is yourself.
right. I think it's finally sinking in, and I think I get it. Um, like the one side of me gets it, but the other little girl good side, that thing that I haven't really embraced. I mean, I think I got a girl out there that's waiting right for me to love her.
Mm.
And I haven't learned how to do that yet. But
Yeah.
I think the more that I embrace hearing myself and respecting myself and trusting myself, I believe that I am also talking to that little girl.
Yeah.
And I think I have to respect her pain and where she's at right now, and not just sort of like squash it down and say, well, you need to stop doing that, because that's just the same thing with a different face.
Yes.
So I'm cherishing this.
Mm.
I'm cherishing it. I'm not even mourning. There are times where I can mourn the fact that I'm 68, and this could have been different earlier. No, it couldn't have been different earlier.
No, it takes the
Everything.
time that it takes, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it does. And I feel really happy. I feel happy that I'm worth this. I'm worth the time. I'm worth the effort. I'm worth the money, because that was an issue, and I just had to really embrace it and say, you know, you pay that much money in 3 months' time for his tutoring, and you don't even bat an eyelash because it's for him.
For
But
your grandson.
yeah, but
Yeah.
anything that's for me, it's like, I think the message is I'm not worth it,
Yeah.
and I've never been worth it. I mean, I didn't go to medical school, thank God. But I didn't go to medical school because I was one of eight kids. And so I wasn't going to ask my parents to make me worth that. But I still think that behind all of that was that I was never worth it. And
Yes,
it,
it's those
yeah,
beliefs that we don't even realize we have about
yeah,
ourselves, right? And we don't even realize we have those coping skills to deal with those beliefs. And this is what we
right,
do in the program, to peel back those layers,
right,
that you're
right,
you're doing that hard work now.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
No, I'm doing that loving work now. Oh
Ah.
my God. I mean, yes, it starts out feeling like it's going to be hard, but then I realize, wait a minute, you know, the hard stuff is the bullshit,
Hmm.
and the real stuff actually feels very like I'm cherishing myself, which
Ah.
is, I mean, even the fact that I'm telling you that, is pretty cherishing to me, that, I can tell somebody else that, I need to cherish myself and that I'm cherishable instead of perishable.
Yeah, I love it. I'm
Yeah, sure.
cherishable instead of perishable. Gorgeous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm
wonderful.
happy.
Wonderful to hear that. And you know what, Noreen, I'd love to actually share what you just told me, with your permission, on the podcast.
You always have permission. I marvel that, like, last week, or maybe it was Monday. See, I can't even remember that. But you'll say something. Of course, I remember the fact that you said it's podcast 4. Like, you were talking off the top of your head, woman. And you've got like hundreds of these things, and you're like 4. I'm like, oh my goodness. But I don't forget that, because that was important to me. I can't even remember why. It had to do, I think it was something important to me, and I don't remember the details, but I remember 4. And
Yeah.
I've been doing my stuff and everything, but every time you've mentioned a podcast, I get there, you
Hmm.
know. But I also marvel at the fact that all these podcasts, but I'm like, I don't really care which one I listen to when.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
you know, so,
there's no right order. And I remember most of them because I actually made them. It's sort of like remembering your kids' names. It's just that I've got 160.
right, 160 kids. I'm not sure I'd remember all their names, but it's pretty amazing. I mean, So to me, I don't know. I don't know what to say because even if I made them all personally, to think that, I put so much into them that they're just there with me all the time, no matter, because it's been years, So I'm still pretty amazed. You can't unamaze me on that one.
No,
Uh,
okay. I won't try
but
then. Thank you.
yeah, no, I mean, I can hear what you're saying, but even to think that they're all that personal to you, that they're right there.
Yeah,
I just, I want to make everything that personal to me,
yeah.
so
Well, over and above the actual numbers, but I care greatly about the podcast and what it's helping people with. And, I
yeah,
get not daily, but often people writing to me to say that your podcast has changed my life.
yeah. That's
And
pretty amazing, isn't it?
isn't it?
Out
I
there in the world.
makes my
Yeah,
day whenever I
yeah,
get those messages. Keep sending them in. Everyone gets
yeah.
it's
I
like
know.
it's so gratifying to think I'm sitting here in a little room in my house. I've got no team, no fancy gear, and I don't even use a microphone or headphones. I just talk into the computer and talk to really amazing people, and it's
Yeah,
changing lives.
yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a call. It's a calling. I mean, people have a profession, but when it's beyond the profession, I forget what they call it, but it's like it's a calling,
Yes.
and it's like it's beyond the profession. It's more important than that.
Yeah, it's a
And
vocation.
yes, a vocation, that's what it is. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And being a teacher is a vocation for me at least.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
And if it isn't, it's sad because then I mean, and it's okay because there's millions and millions and billions of people out there that don't have a vocation, but they have a profession or they have a livelihood. And so it's insulting to say that in order to make it important or whatever, it has to be a vocation or even a profession.
no,
I
no, it
know that
doesn't
that's
have to be.
also not true. Yeah, it isn't
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
I
it's a
feel that.
wonderful blessing if it is, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
you
very
know,
lucky.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All
Well,
right.
as it turns out, so am I.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you.
yeah,
Lovely. Thank you. And thank you for
yeah,
listening as well. No, I don't mean listening just to the podcast, but I mean for being receptive to my
mm.
questions and to I call them gentle nudges in the
Yeah,
program.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know what to say, but I just find it all nourishing.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So there you have it. Noreen, who signed up for the Freedom from Cravings Formula program in January of 2024, in just 3 or 4 weeks, is experiencing amazing benefits, not just from cutting sugar, but from getting those deep insights about her relationship with sugar and her relationship with food in general, and especially with herself, with that inner child, the little girl inside her, the little girl that needs to be cherished and taken care of. And for Noreen, and maybe for you too, cutting sugar is one of the ways to take care of yourself. And if you, like Noreen, feel ready and committed and even a little bit scared to sign up for the Freedom from Cravings Formula program, then here's how you can do that. First, you need to know that you can't just click on a button and buy the program. Why? Because I want to make sure that the Freedom from Cravings Formula 12-week program is a good fit for you. So that means that what you need to do is to go to aftersugarclub.com and to go and schedule a clarity call with me at no cost whatsoever. When you click on that Schedule a Clarity Call button, you'll be taken to my calendar and you'll be able to book a 30-minute chat with me so that we can determine together if the program is a good fit for you. If it is, I'll invite you to join. And if it's not, I can point you to a better resource for your needs. So, if you want to get rid of cravings so that you can slim down and finally feel in control around food, go to aftersugarclub.com and click on the big green button, Book a Clarity Call. Speak to you soon. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.